Hello, welcome back to everyone that's tuned into our channel, American Ultra Stock. Here we are today. We're trying to come back to normal scheduling, like I said in the last video, but I'll do it at the beginning of this one. Guys, this is all on me. It's all my blame. I'm the only one to blame here. I'm joined by Braden, Jeff, and Arjun. These guys are consistent, but I've been up to a lot of busy days. But anyways, bringing to you guys a really exciting video. These ones always do well and you guys enjoy it. We won't do as much speculation as before, but there are a lot of deals to discuss. Braden, Jeff, Arjun, just getting started. What are your comments? I mean, last time this was still a to be seen and to be confirmed, but Musa going to AC Milan. First stakes. Braden, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this one because we did talk about it in the last video. Go watch that if you haven't already. But yeah, it's definitely a huge upgrade from Valencia, and I think the main goal for Musa was just to get out of that club. It's just a horrible situation there. So I'm glad he got out. I do think it was a bit too much of a jump. I mean, AC Milan are a top team. I'm not sure how much he's actually going to play for them, at least this season, but he is a young player. Learning from some of their more experienced, better center midfielders will be probably a positive thing, and so overall, a pretty solid move.
All right, so to make it quick about this one, since we did discuss it, Jeff, 1 through 10, what would you rate it?
I'll give it a solid 7. I won't give higher than an 8 because, like Braden said, we're not quite sure if he'll be, consistent, player first, or even first to come off the bench. He most definitely won't be a starter right away. He'll have to earn that spot like he did at Valencia. And honestly, this is a very good move for him because in terms of upgrade of a team, he'll have better assistance from and contribution from the Milan players. And yeah, it's honestly it's a dream club for him because, well, as you guys know, he's a Ronaldinho fan, and he even picked the number 80 in dedication to him. So yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's a good move.
All right, Arjun, what would you rate this move, 1 through 10?
Yeah, I give it a 7, same as Jeff. Making a big jump, like Braden said. It's to see we still have to see if it's gonna pay off or not. But he's coming in as a bench player. I firmly believe he's gonna be a backup, and he has potential, obviously, to work his way up into a starting role. So yeah, it waits to be seen if Musa can make a breakthrough in this Milan team. If he does, the transfer is gonna, obviously prove its worth. But as of right now, I'm giving a 7 due to the massive jump, the gap of quality between Valencia and Milan.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, you mentioned his starting role. This next guy, Matt Turner, is definitely looking for one. Really nice move. Came out of nowhere, too. It was really quick how the talks advanced, and Nottingham Forest got it done really quickly. We didn't even cover this. It wasn't even a speculation last time around. Braden, you have another Prem player, new USMNT Prem player in the background, but what do you think about Matt, and what do you think about his chances of actually starting in the Premier League? How would you rate this move?
Yeah, I think this is a good move for now. As of the time we're recording, he's, clearly the only senior goalkeeper of the squad. I know they've got a young guy, Shelby, who's been pretty solid in preseason, but obviously he's no Matt Turner. They needed a keeper to come in to replace Navas, who they had on loan last year from PSG. But the one thing that does concern me is they're still looking at other options to compete with Turner, which I don't really understand. I mean, they're looking at bringing back Henderson, who was doing well for them before he got injured, sadly, last season. And I think there was one other option as well that I can't remember right now. But just the fact that they're trying to bring in competition for him doesn't really make much sense to me. So if they do end up bringing in another player to compete with him, I don't really rate this transfer too high. But at the end of the day, even if they do, he has a much better chance of playing than he did at Arsenal with Ramsdale and now David Raya signing for them. So a pretty solid move, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that his Gold Cup, Nations League, but Gold Cup performances probably helped a little bit to put him on the radar, to get that game time. And like you said, them looking at Dean Henderson, if that happens, I'm really worried about this one. Moving on to Jeff, what do you think about it? What do you think about the prospect of them signing another goalkeeper? I'll just say my take. If they sign Henderson, it's not looking good for Turner. But Jeff, your opinion.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy that he finally left Arsenal. Well, I was really hoping throughout the past season that Aaron Ramsdale might pick up a long-term injury just to benefit Matt Turner, but that wasn't the case. Instead, Aaron Ramsdale ended up being first choice. Unfortunately, didn't get injured. As messed up as that sounds, but he was vital to Arsenal's title push, as they wanted to say throughout the middle of the season, then the end of the season, saying top four was always the goal. But anyways, I'm going a bit off topic too much. Turner, he only played in cup games, in which didn't help him as much. But at first, when I saw that he got the official move to Nottingham Forest, I said, "Oh, this is great. He'll be a first choice starter." He isn't, because now they're looking to bring Dean Henderson, and you guys didn't mention Ethan Horvath is even there, but he's not going to be competing for a starting spot. And also, they have Wayne Hennessy as well, an experienced goalkeeper, Welshman. He most likely will leave the club, given that if they're looking to bring in another keeper. But I would rate this transfer a 6.5 out of 10. A little lower than I said for I already forgot the first guy that we talked about. Musa. A little lower than Musa, but yeah, I only give it a 6.5 because I'm a bit worried now. If they are going for Dean Henderson, then this raises some questions to think if it was the smart move for Turner to even go to Nottingham Forest or not.
All right, yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Arjun, what do you think? How would you rate this transfer long term as well? Do you fancy Turner's chances of actually being the starter?
Yeah, I'm gonna give this transfer a 6. I personally, I don't rate that highly. I think Nottingham are a club that are a yo-yo club in England, and especially if Turner's coming in, and Nottingham are gonna sign competition for him already. At a club like that, he needs to be starting every game. Turner should be looking for a club that will guarantee him a starting spot as the number one keeper. And Nottingham are a club that they are in the Prem, but they are at massive risk of just going down again and coming back up. I mean, Turner doesn't need that in his career. He's 27, 28. I think he needs a club 29, even older. He needs a club where he can lock down a starting position for the next 3-4 years, and then come into the World Cup with a couple of years of experience under his belt at a decent club. And I don't think Nottingham's the club for him, but I mean, hopefully I'm proven wrong.
Great points. Especially bringing up his age, but you gotta remember, goalkeepers, they do mature way later in their careers, and I think that Forest would be thrilled to be a yo-yo club because this is their first promotion in such a long time. But let's hope that Matt does prove us all wrong and make this transfer a 10 out of 10 and have a solid season. Moving on to the player behind Braden, it's on his background, Trusty. This was a really nice move. Again, really quick business done by Sheffield. Props to them. They honestly needed to make a few more signs, in my opinion, but regardless, in terms of Trusty himself, I think this is a great move. He's going to get game time in the Prem. Hopefully, will do enough to maintain himself in the Prem with Sheffield or another club. Hopefully, he catches the eye and has a great season. Braden, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I think what you just mentioned is exactly the goal. I don't think Sheffield is his long-term future, to be honest. I think it's definitely a good move for him to be getting regular Premier League game time after he was very impressive last year in the Championship. It's a good step up to a team that, let's be honest, will probably get relegated. I mean, they've gotten worse since they were in the Championship last year. But if he can do enough to impress, then maybe get a move to another team, not obviously Nottingham Forest, but a team like them who are, battling for relegation around those spots. I think that could just be good for his career trajectory. So if he can impress, I think it's a great move. There is obviously the risk playing in a bad team that he'll get exposed a little bit, but I think it's a risk you have to take. Definitely better than staying at Arsenal for a year and not playing at all. And I think it's probably better than another Championship loan because that would just be a wasted season, I think.
Yeah, I think this is actually a little bit maybe a hot take, but I think that at Arsenal he would get some game time. I rate him higher than Kiwior, but Arteta is definitely going to back his signing of Kiwior. And well, anyways, like you said, I think it's better to go and have some game time in the Prem than just go on loan again. Jeff, what do you think? Do you think that this long-term plan of maintaining himself in the Prem, using Sheffield sort of as a trampoline this season, is a good one for him?
I like this deal. I really do. When he first bursted onto the scene by leaving the Rapids and joining Arsenal, there was a promise there that maybe he would eventually be a starter, and then got the loan move to Birmingham City, had a breakout season, quite possibly their best player of the season. It would be a hot take a bit to say because their best player last season. Then left Arsenal and joined Sheffield. What a story it is for this guy. And I really like this deal because he'll definitely be a consistent player. I can already see it. He'll be possibly a key player for Sheffield's return to the Prem. And yeah, I honestly feel like this would be a trampoline, you could say, to get a move to a better Premier League team. Hopefully he does well this season and he'll get a better move. And yeah, I really like this deal.
All right, that's the highest rate that Jeff gave so far. Arjun, is this the transfer that you're liking the most so far, the one out of the ones that we discussed?
Yeah, I'm giving it a 7.5. Same reasons as previously mentioned. Auston Trusty performed brilliantly in the championship last year, so finally getting a chance to prove himself in the Prem. Arsenal wasn't. I wanted him to be proving himself at Arsenal, but I mean, I understand if it's a step too far at the moment. But Sheffield United is a great club for him to get some Premier League experience under his belt and get some really good defending experience too, because Sheffield will be under the cosh a lot of times during this season, especially under against teams like Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. It'll be intriguing to see how Austin could deal against the top players. Like the Haaland versus Trusty battle is gonna be crazy. I don't know, but I mean, yeah, 7.5, good transfer and has potential to be a good stepping stone in his career.
All right, now we're talking about stepping stones. This was definitely going to be a huge step, maybe one that people thought was going to be too much, and we originally had it planned as a done deal. We got the here we go from Fabrizio Romano, and it all fell through. Tyler Adams to Chelsea. I'm just going to say this, sorry Jeff, but I think this is such an unclassy move, to say the least, and not get censored here. To put the guy through a medical and then back off because they're going for Caicedo, which we know they were going for the entire summer. It's really frustrating for Tyler, and I think it's time for us to mention him for the first time in these transfer videos. But where is his future? Where would you guys like to see him go, and do you think he will go? Leeds probably want to keep him, but the relegation clause now is public. It's out there, 20 mil. I don't think he's a bad deal at all for a lot of clubs. Even Arsenal, for example, back up in the DM spot. What do you think, Braden? Where would you like to see him, and about the entire situation, what's your take?
Yeah, so the first thing I need to say is Chelsea, well done. An absolute masterclass in how not to run a club. I mean, you can't treat players like that at the end of the day. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care. You can't treat players like that. You can't put them through a medical and then say no to them. I don't really care if they're going for Caicedo. He was their target the entire summer. If you wanted to get him in, they should have done it by now. And that whole saga, we don't have to go into that because it's absolutely wild. But I do think it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, obviously it's going to be a bit of a hit to the ego for Tyler, getting that move and then getting rejected at the final step. But I think it's definitely going to be better for his career. I think Chelsea fans would have made him a scapegoat like they did with Pulisic. I think he was honestly just there just to get that American exposure, which, let's be honest, is a pretty big factor when clubs sign Americans. I think we always have to keep that in mind. And I think, honestly, Brighton, I think we've said this in past videos, but I think him to replace Caicedo, obviously he's not the player that Caicedo is just yet, but I think that De Zerbi could really mold him into a great CDM and definitely improve his ball skills, because I think that's the one area that he's a little bit lacking in. He's a great destroyer, but playing the ball, starting the build-up, it's not exactly his strong suit right now. But I think under De Zerbi, he could definitely get better at that. So that would be my ideal move for Tyler Adams.
Yeah, and it's nice to mention that because the rumors to Brighton are resurfacing, so that would be nice to see. And, well, now moving on to you, Jeff. You're a Chelsea fan. You're repping Chelsea now. Let's not focus this on the club, but for Tyler as a player, what would you think about the entire saga with Chelsea? Really abrupt saga, but it didn't go well. And where would you like to see him? Do you think he will move and will get a good move, even though this one fell through? And it's nice that Brayden also mentioned that it's a blessing in disguise, because let's see if he really has that dog in him and has a chip on his shoulder to prove everyone wrong and kill it in the Prem this year. What's your take, Jeff?
I don't think Tyler was gonna even adapt well with our system. I mean, many would say he would make a good partner with Enzo, but the way I see it, Adams would have had to be more involved with the ball, because the way that we play, we need two box-to-box players that are good on the ball, because we do play with a double pivot, but Adams is not one that's not well known for his distribution. And if he had to be on the ball like a lot throughout the entire 90 minutes, he would have at least given it away a couple of times, or quite often, you can even say. But yeah, but anyways, I'm taking way too long with what I'm saying. Where I would see him, where I would like to see him, Brighton is obviously one that's most mentioned, to replace Caicedo, as I have in my name and who we're talking about. But to be honest, I would say like a team like I don't know, Burnley. Burnley would be a decent move for me. I mean, it's one that's not most well known, but I feel like company can influence him, maybe make him a more better player on the ball, and the style of play that Burnley will have, it can influence into Adams. He can maybe crack into the 11 if he moves to a team like Burnley. But to be honest, though, Brighton isn't the most smart move. Even many are saying just because to replace Caicedo, it wouldn't help him. So yeah, I see a team like Burnley, and once again, I'm sorry, Adams, but we always wanted Caicedo.
Yeah, well, it's nice that you mentioned an orthodox pick, because I think Burnley would be nice. They're a little short in the midfield. I'll just say it. I'd like to see Adams at Lazio. I think he'll do well against, under Sarri. It's not going to happen. But if Lazio, they want to go for a bigger name than Tasman, I think, Adams would get Champions League soccer. He'd be one of their best players. But they seem to have some cash in the bank thanks to the Milinkovic move. But anyways, talking to Arjun now. Jeff mentioned a little bit about formations. Arjun, you like that part of the game, the tactical side of it. Where would you see Adams fitting the best, and where do you see him growing more as a player out of the options that he probably has now that, the relegation clause is out there, so he's probably going to get a move?
Yeah, so I definitely want to see Adams in a formation that utilizes a double pivot, because I feel like that's where he thrives the best. He has more of a defensive role between those two midfielders, and the other DM can take up more of a playmaking role. And I feel like a team obviously like Brighton uses good players like that who would fit the bill, but I don't think Brighton are going to take him. I mean, if Caicedo leaves Brighton and goes to Chelsea, which is going to happen, I still don't see Brighton picking up Tyler Adams. I don't know why. I just don't see it. Personally, I will want him to go out of England. I would like to see him back in Germany, or even in like Italy. I just don't. I don't know. For some reason, I just don't have a vision of him in England for me. I feel like he can really benefit from great Italian coaching, great German coaching, and again, England, the best club for him would probably be Brighton or like West Ham. But I don't think any of those clubs are going to bid for him. And Chelsea, I'm happy he didn't go there. Chelsea are a joke of a football club. So
you guys are such pricks, I swear.
Well, I said that. All right. Yeah, so that was my point, though. That was my point.
All right, yeah, and like you said, great talent coaching. I think that Saudi is a good midfield creator, honestly. He's a good coach for midfielders. But Malik Tillman got a move to PSV, really nice. I said in the last video, I didn't mind if he stayed at Rangers for another year. It was his first pro season. But the fact that they trust him enough to perhaps be the Xavi Simons replacement, that's really nice to see. Brayden, are you high on this transfer?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this. Tillman and Pepe are going to absolutely cook the Eredivisie. Hopefully they'll be challenging for the title. It'd be so nice if they could beat out Feyenoord with Santi Jimenez. But yeah, I mean, being the Xavi Simons replacement, obviously we know how good of a player he is, and it's going to take a little bit of adjusting. He's not obviously going to be as good as Xavi Simons was, but I do think that the partnership with Pepe, a player that he should know at least a little bit from the national team, is definitely going to help him settle in a little bit, and they have interest in another American, Miles Robinson, as well. So, I mean, a whole American contingent there, which maybe could be a bad thing off the pitch, but I think on the pitch is definitely a good thing. Help them settle into a new club. And yeah, I'm really high on this transfer. I saw that Taylor Booth was potentially another player that was considered to be the Xavi Simons replacement, but I like Booth where he is at Utrecht, and I think Tillman had more of a need of a transfer, so I'm really glad this happened.
Yeah, I'll just go back to you really quickly. You mentioned him. Do you think that Miles going to PSV would be good, beneficial to his career? What do you think of this? It's a bit of a strange one since it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think that Miles getting out of MLS is probably a good thing for his career. He has said in the past that he does want to play in Europe, and his contract will be up at the end of this MLS season. So I think a January move as a free agent would probably make a lot of sense for PSV. I mean, it's a little unfortunate that maybe he couldn't make the move now and have a full season with them. But I do think, like I said, getting out of MLS is good for players, and I think being with two other Americans that he'll know very well in a good, solid league for development. It's a great stepping stone league for players who are just making their first move to Europe. So yeah, I think that would be a good transfer as well.
All right, Jeff, what do you think? Tillman already confirmed to PSV, and Miles perhaps joining him there. What do you think about both these moves?
I'm going to start first with Malik Tillman. This is a very good move for him. But definitely slot in. Well, not maybe slot in, but he'll be the most likely choice to be a starter for PSV after Xavi Simons left. For PSG, once again, B and G, change. But anyways, this would be a good move for Malik Tillman. And the style of play that PSV have, I feel like it would really suit Tillman really well. Obviously they're still trying to qualify for the Champions League. With the playoff games that they just had, he'll definitely be a key player and would most definitely cook with Pepe. They don't know each other that well, but they'll definitely get to know each other a lot more with the upcoming games and the season that they're gonna have. And I really feel like this would benefit Tillman really well. And like you said, Yuri, if he had stayed at Rangers, it would have been. This is a win-win situation for him. He would have, if he stayed, he would have won still with Rangers, and if he already made this move. But this is a win-win situation, like I said. I really feel like Tillman is gonna really thrive in the Eredivisie. And as for Miles Robinson, this could have been a more better time for him to leave the MLS and go to Europe. And if we were to move to PSV, I say it would have been. I feel like he would have been a starter because given that PSV don't really have that many more well-known defenders or consistent ones. They have Andre Ramalho, the former Salzburg player. He's a decent player that they have. They have Jordan Teze as well, another solid defender. And I say that he can most likely win a starting spot over partner up with either one of the two. And I really feel like he would be a good addition to PSV. It wouldn't be the perfect move, but it would be a good move enough for him to leave MLS and go to Europe. So yeah, as for Tillman, I give the transfer an 8 out of 10. Same as I gave for the last one.
All right.
For Trusty, yeah, same as the last one for Trusty.
All right, yeah, it would be nice to see one of our players moving to another PS team. Arjun, what do you think about Tillman already confirmed at PSV? And Miles, as a guy that watches a lot of MLS, do you think that Miles would fit in nicely at that league? And do you think it would mean a lot to his long-term development as a player?
Yeah, I'll start with Tillman. I really like the Tillman move. PSV clearly bring him in as a 10, a replacement for Xavi Simons. And they're very similar players in terms of play style. Xavi Simons, great dribbler, pacey, He's a dynamic player. He can run and he can break lines. He has impeccable technique. And Tillman, as of right now, I would say is not as good as Xavi Simons, but he definitely has potential to be up there. Tillman's in the Scottish Premier League was a beast on the ball. He was dribbling. He completed lots of dribbles per game. He was one of the biggest playmakers in the Rangers team. Directed a lot of attacks, finished a lot of attacks. Deadly in the air. He's 6'2" as a attacking mid, being 6'2", running into the box late for headers or even lingering up top for some crosses. Makes him a dual threat. And yeah, I really like this move. I think if utilized properly, Malik Tillman could become Xavi Simons' direct replacement, because he definitely has the abilities and skill to do that. With his play style, speed, all of it. And Robinson, I like that move too. Except I'm gonna be honest, I would kind of want to see him in like a different club than PSV, because there's just too many Americans at one club. And we all saw it happen in Leeds when there's 3 Americans at one club. Americans just become the scapegoats. Like, they can be having the worst performance of all time. And I know it's PSV and they're a giant in the Eredivisie, but God forbid any failure happens in the PSV season. If Robinson, Tillman, and Pepe are all there, we all know who the fans are going to blame. And I'm not saying this to like be hard on like PSV fans, but it's just the fact of like football in general across Europe, anywhere. Okay, it's a group of players from America. They're going to blame them. Robinson, Europe, definitely Eredivisie, or a league like, I would say, Bundesliga would definitely be the 2 leagues I would want him to go to as a stepping stone to his European career. He is kind of on the older side. He's like 25, 26 right now. I want him to see him move this season, or the latest next season. If he doesn't get moved by then, I don't know. I think I would back him to stay in MLS from them. Just stay in MLS. Don't try Europe. If you're 27, 28, don't try Europe. So yeah, those are my ideas on Robinson going.
All right, that's fair. Now we're talking about a player that's maybe going towards the older side to a really young one. Gaga Slonina. I really love this rumor that he might be going out alone. I think that Eupen, from what I've seen, I'll be honest here, I don't really watch these clubs, but since they are a first division club in a really good league for development in Belgium, I would favor that move if I was him. Brayden, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so it is now official. There was a little bit of a holdup in the past, but it is now confirmed he will be going to Eupen on loan, and I really love this move. Like you said, the Belgian Jupiler Pro League is absolutely amazing for development, and there's a lot of Americans there as well. You got McKenzie, Vines, Fossey, several others. Getting game time is absolutely crucial, especially for a young keeper. I think he's definitely a lot better than most keepers are at this age. He's kind of gotten into his career a lot earlier than most, which is definitely promising signs for the future. And yeah, I think if he has shows some good potential on loan this season, maybe even next year he can challenge for the Chelsea job, because honestly, their keepers right now, Kepa and Robert Sanchez, I don't really rate them too highly. Robert Sanchez was like the 3rd choice at Brighton at the end of the year. Kepa, we've seen how horrible he is with long shots. So yeah, I think Slonina, with 1 or 2 good seasons on loan with development, I think he could definitely be the Chelsea starter sometime in the near future.
Yeah, I think that bar any crazy signing, I can definitely see that happening. Jeff, what do you think about I know he's probably one of your favorite wonder kids from our country. How do you rate this move? Him going to a first division club in Belgium, I think it's a great one.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into how much I admire Slonina as a player. He's obviously our most one of our most talented players. Right up there with Gio Reyna. That's maybe a hot take, but I feel like he's really one of the most high potential players, like right up there with Gio. And no doubt he's our future starter keeper, as I said in previous videos. And I just love this move so much, because it's not a more well-known league, because he needs to start off small. He's been with the Chelsea U21 team, often starter. He's been good with them. And going to a league like Belgium, it's a safe move in my opinion, because if you had gone to a league like say like League One would be a bit too much for him, especially at this young age for a keeper. For a keeper, it would have been a bit of a danger move, like the way I see it. And looking up at the UPenn team roster, all of their keepers are below the age of 25, and Slonina's the youngest one there. He's the youngest. And from what I've seen, from how their keepers are, if they have 4 keepers under the age of 20, then it's most likely that they don't have a locked-in starter. And I feel like Slonina, he'll definitely thrive in the Belgian league, and then under this team too, he'll most likely even win the starting job in like a month or two. And as for like of how I rate this move is a 10 out of 10 if I've ever seen one. This is really good for him. And like Braden said, he'll most likely be a starter not next year, like 2 or 3 years I see it. Is he better than Kepa? Not a chance in hell. Is he better than Robert Sanchez? Neither. Because he's inexperienced, but Kepa, he is shaky on the ball. Slonina is too. You can kind of argue because he's younger and inexperienced, but as for shot stopping, they're pretty even in my opinion. As for Robert Sanchez as well, he goes for the same. And I give this a 10 out of 10. I really love this move for Slonina. Hopefully he has a breakout season with them.
All right, Arjun, do you like Slonina to UPenn?
Cost UPenn, brilliant move for him. You need to be playing minutes at a decent league, and the Pro League is brilliant in developing talent. De Bruyne came from there. And lots of Americans are in there. Mackenzie, Braden mentioned them all, but yeah. Also, just want to mention something. There's no way. I'll be happy if I'm proved wrong, but I do not see Slonina being a starter for Chelsea for the next 5 years. Okay, he is 19 years old. He is a young kid. He is a kid. As a keeper, keepers mature like fine wine. This guy, God willing, he has a long, healthy career. Okay, and let's say 10 years from now, he'll be 29, and even then, that's not a keeper's prime. Keeper's prime is like in their early 30s. He has a long time to go as a pro, and I think we shouldn't rush him in that aspect. Okay, he has all the time in the world. He needs to be playing consistent minutes. Okay, and if he's 21 years old at Chelsea, I don't see him as a starter. 21 years old at Chelsea Football Club, because they can easily just say this and go buy some brilliant keeper and then just drop him on the bench, send him out alone, and then he becomes a loan sign, just all going back on loan. That cannot happen to Slonina. I want him to be playing good game time every season at a good club consistently before going to some superstar club and becoming a starter. If he's 21 at Chelsea, then whatever, but I don't see him being a starter at that age.
All right, so now moving on to a player that got a nice move too. It came a bit out of nowhere, but Haji Wright, he was linked to moves earlier in the summer and moved to Coventry. Unfortunately, they lost their best player by far in Gustavo Hammer, but you will get good service from their fullbacks, which are really good, Sakamoto, Van Edwick. So Haji Wright, big man, moving on to the championship, I think is a perfect move for him. Braden, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I think he's very well suited to play in England, and I think it was definitely the time to move on. He was far and away Antalyaspor's best player. I think it was pretty clear last season in Turkey. And yeah, it's just a great move for development. Victor Gyökeres, their best player far and away last season, did move on in the summer to Sporting Club de Portugal. So there was a need to replace him there. Like you said, Gustavo Hammer leaving is not great because he would have been the main player providing the service into Haji, but like you said, their fullbacks are top class, especially for the championship, and I do still think that there'll be a team who's up there in the table fighting for the playoffs maybe, and I think that Haji, if he plays his cards right, can definitely have a very successful season, and I think it's going to be fun to watch him battle it out with Sargent, see who can score more goals in the championship this season.
Yeah, and it's another American for us to root in my opinion, one of the most exciting leagues in the world. Jeff, what do you make of it?
Yeah, this is a pretty good move for Haji. Finally leaving Turkey from Antalyaspor. It's a good move because I wouldn't have seen him go to team like like a league like Bundesliga. Sure as hell not the Prem. Even making the jump from Turkey, I don't think it would have suited him good. League One would have been realistic, but the Championship, it fits his style of play, it fits his caliber. He's the type of player that can rack up a good amount of goals in the Championship, and then maybe she can move to like the Premier League itself. And it's bad that Coventry lost one of their best creators, because he would have provided good service to Haji, because Haji's not one that's a mobile striker, creates chances on his own. He isn't that good on the ball either, so it wouldn't have worked out for him if he was the one to create his own chances. But anyways, this is a good move for him. I see that he can potentially be a starter or seek minutes off the bench, be one of the first to come off the bench. And Coventry, they have like two more strikers like that could precisely be cause a bit of trouble for him to get minutes. But I'm sure that he'll do good in the Championship, and we'll see who will be able to score more goals between him or Sargent. But this is a good move in my opinion.
All right, I do think he fits the system perfectly. Arjun, do you think that it is a perfect fit for Haji's type of play style?
Yeah, I love it for Haji. Y'all mentioned all the big points, so I'm just gonna leave it there. I think Haji can thrive at the Championship level, and especially with his capabilities as a big 6'4" striker with pace and pretty good dribbling too. He's a very, very much a Championship level caliber player, in terms of he's able to be scoring at least 10 goals a season for a Championship level club. And Coventry are definitely trying to be promoted, like, as they barely failed at promotion last year. This year they're definitely gonna try to be promoted again. And Haji, if he has a good season, he could go down in Coventry City history books.
Moving on to Stabby, another unconventional move to an unconventional club. It gets him into first division in Europe. I mean, that's a good move. Le Havre, I think they will probably struggle a little bit to survive, but they might just finish mid-table. Braden, how do you like this transfer?
Yeah, like you said, a bit of an unorthodox one. Definitely not one that I saw coming personally, but I'm a huge fan, honestly. I think that getting him a chance in a bigger league is huge, especially for his potential USMNT future, because let's face it, playing it with Odense in Denmark is cool. I mean, you can build a career there, but you're not going to get into the national team except for some camp cupcakes maybe. And so yeah, getting to a top 5 league is crucial, and you might have seen in my league and predictions, I backed Le Havre to do well. They did, unfortunately, not retain their one American dual national, but Amir Richardson, so they replaced him with another one who's actually ours this time. And yeah, I think he could do a decent job. I'm not sure if he'll be a starter necessarily, just coming from a smaller club, but I think as a rotational player, if he can get solid minutes, and I think if he can stay in Ligue 1, help keep them up, I think it'll be definitely a big move for him.
Yeah, I think it's a really good move. Do you agree, Jeff?
Let me just be quick about this. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who Emmanuel Sabi is, if I'm being straight up honest. Like, the only reason why I heard about this guy is just just posting some highlights about players scoring, and I just come up and say, who is this guy? Is this some guy that just made a first time switch, or is he a son of some American? And then I just looked it up and just saw that he's been with us ever since like 2017, like 2016, and I'm like, wow, so he's a long time serving player. And then I delve more into like who he is as a player, and he's a very technical type of player, like any sort of winger. Good on the ball. He has a lot of pace. He's good on distribution, and yeah, just pretty much does all the magic on the ball that he produces. Good first touch, can dribble in tight spaces. But yeah, I've seen this as a move. This would be a good move for him. Like, the Havre are known for like being your ordinary League One team. They're like take take Sheffield United as an example from the Premier League. You know, they get relegated, they get promoted, they're up and down. It's literally an elevator. Even Norwich City, they're just like that. The Havre are just like that for Ligue 1. And I say that he'll be a locked-in starter. Let's be fair. Let's be honest here. And he'll be one of those players that has a streak, disappears, and then just comes back. And he's like a lighter. You light it up, the flame comes out, and then you let it go. The flame goes out. You know, he's just that sort of player, streaky type of player. And I see this as an absolute win for him because he'll be able to get back into the picture with the national team. He wouldn't have been if he was staying at Adunza. Let's be fair about this. And yeah, I just didn't know who he was. Learned more about him, and he'll fit in right in. He'll fit right in. Maybe he might get a chance with the national team again. Who knows?
Yeah, fair play, Jeff. I love the honesty, man. I'll be honest. I've never actually watched a full game from him either. I knew who he was.
I never even seen him play. Live game, never.
All right, that's fair. Arjun, did you know about Savvy before this one, and do you think it's a good move?
Yeah, I knew about Savvy for time now. FIFA 21, off topic, but I have him in my FIFA 21 career mode saves, and I like the guy. And Jeff mentioned something. He said he's good in tight spaces. I would say he's very much not good in tight spaces. He's more of a pacey dribbler that can dribble at pace at someone, get by someone, get in between lines, and has a brilliant shot on him. He's been playing last season. He was playing more as a striker for Odense, with 6 goals and 2 assists in the relegation group, Super League. But yeah, his strengths are clearly his pace, his power, his speed, his dribbling at pace, his ability to beat players on 1v1, and his finishing. I would say his technical ability is probably one that needs a bit of polishing up, and playing in France would definitely be a good place to do that. Lavra, Riyad Mahrez came through that team. They're a team that, they're decently well known in France. Le Havre are a solid club, like I was saying before. They're definitely gonna, hopefully, I predicted them to stay up and have a decent run. But Liga, it's not the most competitive league in the world, and I think it's a perfect place for Sabi to, refine his skills in a more difficult league than the Danish league. And if he does well here, y'all mentioned it, he might have a chance of becoming a backup in our B team, maybe even push for a backup A team spot. So yeah, hopefully he does well. I rate this move. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10 because he has a chip on his shoulder, so he has something to prove, and it's a relatively low risk move too.
I give it a 7 out of 10 just because I don't know who he is, and just because I predicted not the type of player he is. Thank you for that, Arjun.
Yeah, no, that's fair though. I'll give you props for the improv skills, Jeff. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint a player's strong suits when you haven't watched them. But now moving on to Cowell, a player that we've all watched. I mean, I hope so. He's a really promising player. I think he'll be a fringe player for a long time, to be honest. But this move might just help his case. Bologna, good move. Bologna are a very solid club. They do punch a lot above their weight because they don't really spend any money. They're a really broke club. I don't know what are the details behind this rumor, but I'll be shocked and I'll be really happy to watch another American in Serie A. So Cowell to Bologna. Do you think it will happen, Braden? Do you think it would work?
Yeah, so I do think there's a little bit of complications with this transfer. There was rumors that there was a bid, but we don't have the exact fee exactly, and the MLS transfer window is done. Obviously, Cowell can still leave the club because the window is open in Europe, but they can't buy a replacement, and I think that's going to be a huge thing. Obviously, they have his brother coming through the ranks. I think he's going to be a pretty good talent, but he's nowhere near ready. They did sign Matthew Hoppe on loan, but definitely different types of forwards. So I'm not sure if Earthquakes would let him go just yet without being able to sign a replacement, especially considering that they're, for the first time in a while, actually a solid, respectable team in MLS. They're in the playoff race right now, and I don't think they want to let that go to waste because he is one of their most important and exciting players, despite his technical faults, you could say. But yeah, I think a move to Europe is definitely in Cowell's future. He's still so young and has so much experience at such a young age. But I don't think it'll happen right now. Maybe in the winter, we'll see. But I think next summer potentially is his time to make the move to Europe.
Yeah, and just I did some research. Bologna, they have offered 3 pizzas and 1 lasagna for him, which is really above their budget. To be honest, they're not rich at all. I don't know how they even found Cowell. Someone was probably playing FIFA and thought, this kid has good overall potential. No, I'm just kidding. Jeff, what do you think? Do you think that Cowell to Bologna can happen, and do you think it would be a good move?
Well, let me tell you, that offer, it sounds very delightful. It sounds like a very well-cooked Italian, type of meal. If I were an executive or a president at San Jose, I'd accept that right on the spot. Hot and fresh as well. Sounds good. But anyways, jokes aside, I find it would be a good move if San Jose weren't as stingy as they are with Cowell. Let's not forget that last season they literally rejected a loan, a deal from Rams when they tried to, inquire for him. He would have made a good partnership with Balogun. Because since Cowell is a bit inconsistent, he wouldn't have, maybe had a good partnership with Balogun. But this would be a good move because I'm looking over here and seeing that Bologna don't really have that many consistent wingers. I'm not saying that Cowell would definitely start over them. Maybe he could challenge them, and especially with Cowell's style of play, he's an explosive type of player. He has a lot of pace, a lot of energy. His shooting is pretty decent. Obviously his technical ability lacks a lot. His dribbling is a bit weird. It's a bit stiff as well. He's a very physical type of player as well. He would definitely work as a wing back or as a right winger, because if you have him on the left, he would have to do a lot of dribbling, a lot of cutting back, cutting in, cutting out. That's not really how you can use Cowell to his full potential. I say if Bologna were to sign him, they would have to play him on the right, because he would deliver some good crosses or even have some good shots at goal as well. So technically, if this deal were to happen, it would be a good deal. But first, we have to see if San Jose would even let him go. But as Braden said, they most likely won't, because they need to sign a replacement, and the MLS window is shut, so this wouldn't work well. But back to the the deal that you said, Yuri. That would definitely please San Jose's needs if they were to make that offer.
All right, Arjun, over to you. Are San Jose a stingy club about on their business about Cal? I love that Jeff left a dig at them. Do you think that Cal at Bologna would work? I'm just gonna say this. I think it could help his discipline. Bologna are a very tactically sound club.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Me and Jeff on the same wavelength here. Jeff dropping some pretty good ball knowledge. I won't even lie, because let's face the facts here. Cade Cowell is nowhere near technical enough to cut it as a winger in Europe. He is nowhere near the technical ability required to be a starting winger in the Serie A, and that's just not even debatable. Like, it's not even close to being good enough for that. However, Jeff was right. His strengths are his physical attributes, his pace, his power, his speed, his dribbling at speed, his ability to get in behind, and even his crossing at times is pretty good. Which is why I personally would like to see him try to be trained as more of a midfield right wing back. Not right back, but more of a wing back role. Kind of like a Caleb Wiley role in Atlanta United. Because, again, even Caleb Wiley is more technical than Cade Cowell. Cade Cowell is very stiff. He's brilliant. He's a brilliant talent for us. But as a winger in Europe, you need to have a certain level of technical ability, and he doesn't have it yet. So playing up to his strengths, Bologna could definitely play up to his strengths, his physical attributes, his wingback, his potential wingback capabilities, because I think he would really thrive in that role. But I don't see him moving out of MLS for another year. I think he's staying for the rest of the season. I don't think San Jose are going to sell him. Cade Cowell is a starter for San Jose in every game this season. They're not going to sell him. When they do sell him, they're going to make sure it's for a great sum of money to a club. like Bologna, but again, Bologna aren't going to play him as a starting winger. If anything, they're playing him as a wing back.
Yeah, I think that Cal, you guys made some good points. He might move to Europe at some point, or stay another season in MLS, or stay his entire life in MLS. Let's see. To all of the subscribers that watched this far into the video, thank you so much for supporting the channel. We're back on track now. We will be uploading like we have previously. Thank you. Please leave a like, your comments on transfers that you would like to see for players that still haven't moved, your opinions on our opinions, and make sure to share with your friends as well. Subscribe, and we'll see you next time.